So twice in 2 days, Pete Hegseth has embarrassed Donald Trump. Well, and Donald Trump embarrassed himself too, don't get me wrong here. Now, Donald Trump had this cabinet meeting today, and they were talking about the Russia-Ukraine war, and a question came up about the use of chemical weapons. And Donald Trump didn't have the answer. This is where he embarrassed himself, didn't know what was going on. So he asks Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth looked like a deer caught in the headlights, didn't know what was going on, basically kicked it over to the CIA director and said, well, he'd know more than I would. Well, CIA director says, if there is chemical usage, that's clearly illegal by international law, but I can't really say anything because classified. And they kind of moved on. But how else did Pete Hegseth embarrass Donald Trump? Well, it came out about 3 days ago or so that Pete Hegseth unilaterally paused aid and resupply efforts for Ukraine. Most of the aid was defensive military equipment, but Pete Hegseth said, whoa, we can't send that over, it's going to hurt our stockpiles. Except, as I've talked about in numerous previous videos, most of the time, and this is another example of this, what they did was they allotted money to either buy new to send to Ukraine, or they picked stuff that was starting to get outdated for ourselves and bought new to replace that. So it doesn't affect our preparedness at all. But Pete Hegseth paused it. Donald Trump comes out last night and says, no, we're going to send more aid to Ukraine. We're not stopping anything. I don't know who stopped it. You tell me who stopped it. I didn't stop it. So he didn't even know Pete Hegseth did this. Now, of course, members of Congress are wanting to look at Pete Hegseth and call him before Congress and say, hey, what are you doing here? Are you violating law by putting these pauses on where you didn't have the authority to do so, because we had already stipulated that the money should be spent and this is how it should be done, and these things need to take place. And that's coming from both parties. Ultimately, this could be the beginning of the end for Pete Hegseth. Donald Trump doesn't keep people around very long. Once they start to embarrass him, he's going to find a reason to get rid of Pete Hegseth and move on to a new Secretary of Defense until that person does something that makes Donald Trump look inept, look foolish, because Donald Trump doesn't realize he does that to himself on a routine basis. So it sounds like the aid to Ukraine is going to continue and may even get more traction for even more aid. But Hegseth embarrassed Donald Trump. Let's see what happens.